So you're working on a new song, but you can't quite get the solo down? There could be a solution. Cue the music, Simone. BI Music Corner. I'm stepping up my game on the intro music. Before we get started, check out the new guitar Sweetwater sent me. If you watched my review of the Charvel DK24, had the little crack in the neck. They sent me a brand new one. Overnighted it to me, by the way. So shout out to them for that. Good company. They take care of you quick. So anyway, I like the new guitar. The setup on the original one came better. This one I had to tweak a little bit more. The truss rod needed a little bit more adjustment, but wasn't much of one. It's nice though. Check it out. So anyway, like I was saying, we're trying to figure out, when we play covers, should we play the solos note for note? Is it that big of a deal? This came up when I was younger, when I was a wee lad back in the 80s, early 80s, and starting to play guitar, and we were trying to learn these solos. And I remember some guys saying, well, I don't play other people's solos, I play my own solos, And they said it all like playing somebody else's solo was beneath them or something. And it's like, you're already playing somebody else's song, so I mean, what's the big deal about playing solo? And as I've gotten older and I've looked back on my life and my wisdom has kicked in, I realized probably what those people were saying was, I can't play those solos, so I'm going to try to save face and say I'm not going to play them. It's my choice. Which there's no shame in that. My dog's going to be an issue again today, I can tell. But you got to remember, this is back in the early 80s. We didn't have YouTube and the internets and all that stuff where we could look up tab, or if we wanted to play a new song, pull up one of any 100 videos that are out there on how to play it. It just didn't exist back then. You could either learn it by ear, which I was really never that good at, as far as, especially when it comes to solos. The songs itself, I could usually figure out. There she goes. The songs itself, I could usually figure out. The solos, note for note, kind of depend on the solo. If it was kind of bluesy based, hey, chill out. Might be a little easier for me versus, some shred type solo. I'm gonna need some help probably. There were 2 magazines back then. I think it was a couple more came along, but they were monthly magazines that would come out that would have some songs tabbed out in it for you, and you could watch, pull those. The only problem was sometimes the months would go by that they would put songs in there you just didn't, most rockers like me didn't care to learn. I don't want to learn any songs by the Police or NXS or whatever. It just wasn't my thing. I did learn The Flight of Icarus from tabs from that magazine, and Another Thing Coming. There were some songs, Alone Again. I remember Just Got Lucky by Doc, and I think some of those songs came out in there. That's where I learned those. Or what you could do is get somebody that actually knew the song and have them teach it to you, which I did have access to. A guy who became a good friend of mine. He was one of the really good guitar players in the neighborhood that he was good at picking out stuff by ear. And for $5 an hour, you could go to this guy. Well, he didn't give a lot of lessons. Me and a buddy of mine would go to him. For about $5 every week, we'd go in there and he would show us whatever songs we wanted to learn. And that was pretty cool. But other than that, that's all we had at our disposal. So over the years, I've kind of developed my own method. There she goes. She's trying to dig a hole in the floor. It's a wood floor. So I'm learning covers, right? I'm still, time's gone by. I'm learning more and more songs, or some songs I used to play back in the day that I just forgot because I haven't played them in 20 years. Am I going to try to learn these songs note for note? So I kind of have my own little system. If it's a big solo, like it's a solo that people are going to recognize, especially if it's from an iconic type guitar player like your Eddie Van Halen's or your Randy Rhoads, you're going to want to stick as close to those as the originals of those as possible. If it's more bluesy, pentatonic, kind of generic sounding solos, the solos sound good, but there's nothing in them that really stands out that just makes it like a big aha moment. Maybe you don't have to worry about playing those so much note for note. Like there's a song, Hard to Handle by the Black Crowes, cool song, been around forever, big hit. I have never even tried to learn that solo the way it is on the original recording because it's very bluesy, rocky. I play a lot of that kind of stuff anyway. I've come up with my own solo and I've played it for years. Nobody's ever said a word to me. But I would say if the solo has a moment like, you listen to this. Most everybody would know what solo that is from. Spoiler alert, it's Crazy Train if you didn't figure it out. But when you have moments like that in a solo that really stand out, or like, how about this? When you have moments like that, everybody could probably tell you right away, oh, that's Round and Round by Ratt. So the solo's got these big moments you're going to have to at least hit those. Now, some songs I kind of hybrid out. I do some of the big moments in the solo. Sometimes I add some of my own stuff. And one group that I usually do a mixture of is like AC/DC. So like, because Angus Young usually has some moments in his solos that kind of stand out, and then there's some of it, the rest of it may be just kind of like bluesy, pentatonic box style rock solos, and so I may not worry so much about playing that. Like you hear, most people know that shook me all night long. You can recognize that solo, but from that point forward, he just jumps up and starts, it's just kind of generic after that point. So I honestly, once I got, maybe I was just tired that day. I didn't feel like trying to figure out the entire rest of it. So for years, I have played that song, that last bit of that solo, just kind of doing my own thing. And it's only it's a very short little piece. Just knock it out and go on. Something like, like a lot of Van Halen solos. My bands, I've played a lot of Van Halen songs over the years. And I admit, sometimes I kind of have to skimp a little here and there on some parts of it because I just can't play like Eddie. And I have no shame in admitting that. Now, I know I can go on YouTube right now, and there's probably 400 people out there that can play every Van Halen song out there note for note, and I'm just not that guy. I can play some of his stuff, and I can get the essence of the song, Like when I learned how to play Unchained, there's a part at the beginning that has the whammy bar in it. Anyway, he does that harmonic dive and then a little. Well, when I learned that song, my guitar didn't have a trim on it, so I couldn't do the wee wee. I couldn't do that, so I had to just come up with I just threw a little hook in there that was had some pinched harmonics in it. That kind of took, okay, I hear some kind of sounds, you hear those sounds, but it's not the same as what he's doing. But then I can go and do the rest of it. I can do the rest of it. I can do all that part. And so I finished out the solo. Just that very first piece, I kind of ad-libbed it because, like I said, I didn't have the means to do what he was doing at that time. So for years, I played that song the same way. Nobody ever said a word to me about it. So, and I play a lot of shows where there's other musicians in the room, other guitar players, well-known people that, hey man, good job, you knocked that out of the park, type deal, blah blah blah. And I appreciate that. It makes me feel good after a show because sometimes I'm self-conscious. But so my advice would be to learn it as close as you can. At least hit the big moments. Now, some songs, if you take a song like Turn Up the Radio by Autograph, that's an older song. Don't really hear it played that much anymore, but in the 80s, that song was huge. And the guitar solo in it was epic. And in fact, it was actually rated the #1 guitar solo of that year, which would have probably been around 85, I'm thinking, somewhere around there. And there's a big two-handed tap section. And it goes through like 4 different strings and back up, and then it's got this cool little, you know, it's just where he pinches a note, tap, slides up, let's go. He does all this weird stuff that it just all stands out so big. That solo is actually on my bucket list to learn before I kick it. But and I've messed around with it, and I've gotten some parts of it. But I don't have it good enough to where I feel like I could play it with the band, because that solo has to be right, because the whole thing it's an epic solo from beginning to end, really. There's one little piece you might fudge on right before the two-handed tapping, and there's a little part in there that comes up through the high A section up here that you could probably, it's a very bizarre riff that he does to get through those strings, a lot of string skipping and back and forth weird stuff, but it's not that long of a piece, so you could maybe that part get away with just not doing it exactly like he does it, but in that two-handed tapping has got to be there. Because I saw a guy, their band was playing Turn Up the Radio, and it came to the solo, and he just did his own thing. He just went off in the left field, didn't do anything close to the original, and it was like, oof. It was kind of cringe. It was a cringy moment to listen to that and just watch it. It was like I felt bad for him. Like, dude, you shouldn't even tried that. That was horrible. You know. But hats off to him for giving it a shot. I saw another guy play. Another thing is your style of play. Can you play? Like I knew this guy. He was a very bluesy style player, and he was trying to play an '80s metal song. And I don't want to say any names or anything like that, because person could possibly watch his video one day. Anyway, he's trying to play this 80s more metal type solo, and when it came to the solo, he was doing his own little thing, and it was like watching it was just, again, it was cringy. It was just like, oh man, you should have just cut the song out of the set. It's not that big of a deal. Pick another song. He's a decent guitar player. He's a good guy, good guitar player, but that song was not for him. If he insists on playing it, he's gonna have to broaden his style a little bit so that he can incorporate some of these more 80s style riffs into that solo, because what he did not fit at all. So anyway, like I said, when it comes down to it, it's your call. You can do what you want, but there's going to be people a lot of times in the audience that are going to recognize that you're not doing it right, and it could look bad on you. At least give it a shot. I remember, and you might be surprised that you can do more than you think you can. For years, I used to really look up to that song "Over the Mountain," the Ozzy song. That Randy Rhoads part from the and all up to just that whole solo to me was just so epic, And for some reason, I never really tried. The only part I ever learned was the. I learned that riff. I actually learned it in the wrong spot, but I did learn how the pattern goes. I just felt like, the whole song's fast too. It's got all this fast stuff in it. And be honest, I just never really tried to learn the song. It just kind of intimidated me for some reason. And then one day, my son starts playing guitar. He's playing guitar, I don't know, maybe 6, 7, 8 months, something like that. And I can hear him in the other room playing Over the Mountain. I was like, whoa, time out. I can't let some newbie come in. I mean, he didn't have it down pat yet, but he was getting close. And I thought, okay, I can't let my son outshine me, 8 months into his guitar journey. So I got online and I learned that song. And actually I found out I could play it. It wasn't as hard as I thought it was. And so then we played it together. We'd turn up the thing and we'd get together and both get our guitars out and play it. And then I would play the whole thing in front of him. So I kind of regained my manhood, I guess, a little bit by showing, see, I can play. Because for a minute I felt very self-conscious. This little kid was passing me up. But he's not afraid to try different things. Now, the songs don't intimidate him. For some reason, that song just intimidated me. But once I dug nails into it. It wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. And I've found that with other songs I've sat down and tried to play. So, like I said, don't let a song intimidate you. Just give it a shot. You know, you might be surprised what you can do. And like I said, if it's a big epic solo especially from an epic guitar player like a guitar player that everybody's going to know, you might want to, like I said, get as close to the original as you can. That's my advice, because it's going to look, first of all, you're going to feel better about yourself if you can actually do it the way they did it, or at least as close as possible. And the song's going to sound better. It's going to sound more authentic. And plus, you know, when you step outside your comfort zone, you learn how to play other people's techniques, and it can help you in your own style down the road. Like if you start writing songs and putting your own solos and stuff, you might learn something from you know, some of the stuff you picked up over the years or from other people's styles. It can stick with you. And because a lot of people were influenced by somebody else, and you can hear it a lot of times in other people's playing, you know. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. At the end of the day, it's your call. Do what you want. It's just what I've learned over the years. I've kind of carved out a little system that works for me. You know, like I said, if it's just kind of bluesy, rocky stuff, I usually do my own thing a lot of times. But I keep it close to the vein of the song to where people really don't pick up on it. But like I said, if you got those big moments in the song, like Crazy Train or Round and Round or any of these other songs, anything that has a solo that really stands out, you're going to have to get as close to it as possible. Can you imagine doing Over the Mountain and just trying to rock out some bluesy rock solo during that part? It would sound stupid. You've got to do the parts the way he did it. That song pretty much has to be the way it is. Crazy Train's kind of like that as well, because if you listen to the rhythm of Crazy Train, it's kind of like the whole song just changes. For that solo, it's broken up into parts, and it's hard to picture anything else really going there other than what Randy Rhoads put there. And like I said, if you break it up into parts and just learn the two-handed part first, then the dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee, learn that part next, and then you just break it up into little sections, it's a lot easier than you think. And I think you'd be surprised what you can do. And like I said, you'll feel better when you're done. Like, hey man, check out, I did it. I did it. And a lot of times when I learn a new song, especially one that's a little harder, and I finally get it down and I play along with the recording and I got it, there's a sense of accomplishment that I feel even at my age I still get it. And then when you really want to push yourself, go onto YouTube and pull up the backing track for the song you just learned. Because you'd be surprised, there are a ton of backing track songs out there. Just about every one I've looked up has been there. I was curious the other day. I was just kind of like, one of the songs we do in this cover band that I sit in for sometimes is Working for the Weekend by Loverboy. And I was like, I haven't played that song in a little bit. Let me see if there's a backing track. Pulled it up. Sure enough, there was. Cowbell. And boom. Guitar's taken out of the mix. So when you play along with it, you really hear how you sound with the band. So those backing tracks are excellent practice tool. So anyway, do the best you can at the end of the day. It's your call. Music is for everybody. And just you know, keep practicing and do better. I wish I had practiced more when I was younger. When I see my son play now, I think, man, I could be so much better than I am if I'd have practiced like he does, because he's like one of these, he's one of those guys. And he passed me up. Hey. Well, you always want more for your kids than you have for yourself, so there he goes. Good for him. But he also plays drums, which I cannot do at all, so I don't know. His head's wired a little differently than mine. So anyway, y'all take it easy out there and keep practicing. Oh, if you want to buy the guitar that I had demoed earlier, it's on Sweetwater's website right now as a demo. They knocked $120 off of it. But I could tell it was the exact, but they did disclose the crack is there, and but it's there if you want to check it out. I was worried about the finish, but I like the finish on this one. It's got the striping, it's got some stripingness going on in it. So yeah. Peace. Take it easy.